Hi, and welcome to another episode where I take vintage drive-in speakers, clean them up, fix up the internals, give a paint job if they need one, and make them sound and look fantastic once more. On the table today is a generic model drive-ins speaker, and people with apostrophe issues already can tell this is not what you do with an apostrophe, but I digress. I can already tell this unit has basically seen a lot of use. Look at this. There's plenty of oxidation and gunk on it, even a couple of stones in the grill. The knob, well, it'll be a little hard to control the volume when this thing spins around like that. Yeah, already we know this is going to need a new knob. No getting around that. The back doesn't look too bad. It's nice to see that somebody was kind enough to say how much they were willing to pay for this, which was me. Look at there, $35. What an investment, folks. Let's see if I can make this $35 into something priceless. Alright, how about we slice open this cupcake and see what's inside. Now, the screws here are the safety screws known as Holt. There are 4 recesses with this raised center, which is why you can't use a Phillips screwdriver to take them out. You have to use this fluted screwdriver to do the work. Holt screws are not uncommon. You'll see them in things like parking meters or any sort of change box that you don't want somebody actually getting in there and stealing money or precious parts. Okay, that's one. Here's the second one. Look at that. Sometimes it takes a little push, and they come right out. Sometimes I have to break out the drill. Thankfully today, I do not have to break out the drill. So I got this unit along with another from a Craigslist seller in downstate New York, about an hour from where I live. And my thought was I would just use these for parts. Take apart what's in there, save what I can. Sometimes there's parts that are hard to replace or hard to order or hard to find, and it's easier to get them from a donor unit than from other locales. So let's see what's inside. Okay. This is nice. Look at this. This is from Drive-In Theater Manufacturing in Kansas City. They were one of the major companies that produced drive-in speakers throughout the United States. And they're still in business today, although they're now known as Ditmco. D-I-T-M-C-O. Ditmco. Potentiometer looks good. Speaker really actually looks nice. I may have gotten lucky on this. All this might need is a little bit of a cleaning. I will just make sure I take everything off of here just for safety's sake. This little clasp keeps the speaker wire nice and safe, doesn't pull it in or out. But I do want to loosen that off. I also want to take the speaker out. That beautiful decal. I'm actually kind of glad that the speaker cone looks really good. We'll get the potentiometer released as well. These are going to need my Phillips screwdriver to get them out, and I'm going to do that off camera. What I'm going to do is take out the... Ooh, these things are in nice and tight. There it goes. Take out the potentiometer. Really, the only thing that so far that I've not been happy with, besides the condition of the chassis, is the volume control knob. It is broken, but it's only the knob, and I can replace those. That's not a problem at all. Let's take the clasp off. This is what we need to make sure so that the wire stays safe. Let's just take that off. And it's 4 Phillips head screws that hold the speaker to the chassis. So we're going to take those off and put those safe as well. Everything goes, when I take it apart, it goes in little baggies. And I learned this in college, actually. One of my professors recommended a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it's kind of fun because he was actually a computer language professor. But knowing the thought process between motorcycle maintenance and computer language, they're almost similar. Things like making sure that when you take something apart, you put everything in a row from the first piece you took out to the last, so that when you can reassemble it, you can put everything back where it was just by going back and retracing your steps. I mean, I've got Phillips head screws I can put in here, but if they're right here and they're working fine, there's really no reason to replace them. Okay, everybody out carefully. Yeah, see, this is the potentiometer, and it works fine. The speaker, I mean, it's a little discolored, but it probably still works. I'll test it. Gotta save the spring. This is one of those things you can't find, but this, yikes. It's like somebody used it for target practice. Speaker cone looks really good. That's just going to need a scrub. The main thing is we're going to clean up these units, these chassis, and put everything back in. I think we're going to be having a good time at this. As I said before, everything goes in a baggie. That includes the spring. That includes all these little Phillips head screws. There should be 6 of them if you're counting at home. The 2 Holt screws, we're going to keep those. I'm going to seal that up. That's 1 bag full of parts. Actually, let's put the speaker grill in there too. Just for kicks. Okay, put that aside. Now the speaker and the potentiometer and the speaker wire, we're just going to carefully slide this into a second baggie. This way, I don't accidentally puncture a really good speaker, because I've been known to do that, because sometimes I am a klutz. It happens. This is why I edit out those moments, so that you don't see me making myself look like an idiot any more than I sometimes do, and your comments will remind me of that. Alright, I'm going to coil up the rest of this off camera, pack it in the baggie, and then we're going to address the chassis. So let's go over a couple things with the chassis. You can see all the corrosion, stones in the grill. Yuck. And I really don't need this thing saying that I bought it for $35. Gotta keep some of my secrets. Alright, everybody goes in the bucket with soapy water and pine cleaner, and take a scrubbing brush and scrub these bad boys off camera and get them all as clean as I possibly can, and then we'll go from there. This is what happens when you put a little elbow grease and some sweat equity in. We got almost all of the corrosion and gunk off of the chassis, and they look much better. Now what I'm going to do is let them dry, make sure all the moisture is out of them, before I decide what or if I'm going to paint them. After much cleaning, much scrubbing, and much thought, I've decided this unit needs a good restoration color. So I'm going to give it the 3-step cocktail, and I'm going to start with this black epoxy primer sealer. And we're going to put that on the inside and on the outside. So let's get started. You recognize this? This is what's left of the volume knob on that speaker. It's pretty much snapped off, it's broken, it's ugly, it's disgusting, and I'm definitely having to replace it. So what I have here, this is an RCA knob that will fit on what was left of the speaker. But this is an RCA knob, and the unit I've got is, well, it was manufactured by RCA, but it's branded as Ditmaco. So what I'm going to do, since knob is kind of worn out, is I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm just going to shave off the top of this logo so that it will be a generic button. Yeah, these look so much better with a black primer on them. Now what I'm going to do is add a little candy. And by candy, I mean this Mystic Chrome that I purchased from the spraysource.com. And what this is going to do, Mystic Chrome is a replication of the 1998 Cobra Terminator Ford spray color that was offered for that model. It was also offered for the 2004 Mustang. And this is a replication. The reason it's such a rare color is that in certain angles of the sun, this can change appearance from a green to a purple, depending on how you look at it, which I think is kind of amazing. All right, let's give this thing a good couple of coats. And after going from about a 400 sandpaper grit to 3,000 sandpaper grit, I was able to shave off the scratched RCA logo. So now this is just a generic volume control knob. And you can see in there that little D shape. That is how this model of potentiometer interfaces with this knob. It's got a D shaft and it slides right on. And that allows this to turn and increase or decrease the volume when you're listening to the movie. Sure looks a heck of a lot better than this piece of junk, don't you think? Hey guys, I just want you to see this. I'm letting these dry a little before I put the clear coat on top. But check this out. As I move the camera, look at how the speaker changes color. It goes from a green to a purple, and all the blended shades in between, just from the angle of the sun. This is amazing. I like this a lot, and I can't wait to see what it looks like once I put a top coat on it and protect that beautiful Mystic Chrome paint finish. Well, you know what, folks? When I took the speaker out of the bag to test it and make sure everything's good, look at there. Nasty tear. And a speaker torn means that anything you play through it is going to sound buzzy and rippy and awful. I know what that means. This speaker has to be replaced. Now, thankfully, these are 4-inch speakers, and you can get them in any auto parts store or car customization place. So that won't be a problem. Let me flip this over, and I just want to show you what we're going to need to do here. I'm going to need to clip the speaker wire off. The speaker wire is still good. I can still use that, but I just need to clip it right here on the post for the speaker and on this other post. And I'm going to put a new line connecting the potentiometer to the speaker at that point and connect one of these wires back to the new speaker. And I'm going to do that in just a few moments. And you know what? If I'm going to replace the speaker, I need to replace these connectors. They are, well, they're kind of weathered and they've seen better days. I'm going to just cut them here, put new spade connectors on, crimp them on so that they'll be nice and fresh. Little secret. Most drive-in speakers have 4-inch internals inside. And a 4-inch speaker is easily acquirable. All you really want is one with a flat surface, not one that has like a bar across it or a double cone, because they won't fit. They have to be flush against the front of the chassis. And this will fit right there. In fact, if you can see, these 4 holes will match up perfectly with the holes on the inside of the speaker chassis. So I've wired everything up, and before I solder everything down and put heat shrink tape around, I just want to mention that in addition to the speaker being bad, I had previously tested the potentiometer that came with this, the volume control, and it was spotty. I could get sound, and then I couldn't get sound. So rather than try to take this thing apart and do any sort of meatball surgery on the potentiometer, I have an RCA compatible speaker potentiometer that I've already installed right here. That's this one. So, time for the test. All I do now is I've got this hooked up to my Bluetooth audio receiver, and I should be able to play one of my other YouTube videos through the speaker. That way I don't get a copyright strike on myself from YouTube. Basically take my, I got it as far as I could, but then I had to take my flathead screwdriver and pop the head off. Okay, so we have that connected. Now all I need to do is finish soldering here and here, and then use heat shrink tape that I've already put on to protect everything else. So now it's time for reassembly. I was able to pull the sound brace off of the old unit, off the old potentiometer, because it's still quite good. And that goes right here on these posts. What we're going to do is going to put it actually through the new potentiometer. Goes right through here. Make sure these connectors are right side up. There. Take this hex nut and you thread it through. Just like that. There we go. Give it a wee bit of a twist. Just make sure that's in tight. The spring will go through here, and the knob will feed this through here. Let's make sure that the orientation of that fits with the orientation of this. Okay. And that's going to go in here. I'm actually going to put a couple things in here first, just so I don't twist the wires all over the place that I've just finished soldering and heat treating. Okay, this little lip here goes right like this. And then I've got this little 4-inch rubber spacer that I like to put on these things just as an added little bonus. Then we can put the speaker right here. It'll match up on those 4 holes. Take the spring, and this gets threaded in here. Just turn the knob so that everything lines up. If you're not really sure, you can actually put the knob in like this first and just get it in there, and then thread it into the hole. Okay. I got some screws here. Just going to take a couple. Let's pull them out. Put one in right here. Just to get that in there solid. I started working on drive-in speakers as a restoration project probably in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, when I really needed something to do rather than always remember that we were in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, some people baked sourdough bread, and some people tried to gamble on Wall Street stocks. I tried to do something creative. And by creative, I mean working on restoration projects. And the more of these I did, the happier I was, and the more sane I actually felt when going through the pandemic. There we go. So I've anchored down 4 screws right here on the speaker and 2 screws on the sound brace. So this part is taken care of. We just have a couple more steps to go. On the cable, there's this little clip, and that actually goes, if I can thread it carefully, all the way down. Yep. All the way down to here. And this will actually hold the speaker wire in place nice and safely. Like so. Just going to put this right here. And that'll hold that securely, or as securely as one would expect. I want to show you something here. This is the inside of the chassis. And if you see here, do you remember this? This was the sticker that was on the back of the original drive-in speaker. I thought it'd be a nice little Easter egg to put this in here in case, you know, someday this might end up in the hands of a collector or somebody who's kind of curious about working on these things, and they open it up and they'll see this. And that'll be kind of nice. I replaced the leads. This was the original wire, but I replaced the leads. And you can see I put some fresh spade connectors on here and a little shrink tape, heat shrink tape, and I'll just thread them through this hole right here. 1. No, come on, guys. There's 1. And then we'll do the other. There we go. And through. And then we'll just pull the wire through. Sometimes it takes a little bit of finesse to get it to go. Just a wee bit of finesse. As I said, I kind of wanted to use as much of the original as I could, but there were parts that just were either damaged, non-working, or just weren't playing nice. And then we'll just clip this back together, like so. Well, there we go. Okay. Now we have these little Holt screws. These are safety screws that are standard in things like drive-in speakers, parking meters, anything that would require security. And they're 4 little grooves on this screw with a raised center. So it won't work to take them off with a Phillips head or a flathead. If you don't have one of these Holt screwdrivers, and they are available in places like Detroit Diecast and driveinmfg.com, then you're going to have trouble. Your only other option would be to actually try to drill out the speaker hole. And then you end up widening it out, and then it becomes a pain in the neck to restore. There we go. It's a fun little project to do on a rainy day like today, or just whenever you feel the urge, and we are done. And here we are in the sunshine, and take a look at the color shift as I move the camera from left to right. Isn't that incredible? It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I really hope you enjoyed it. And please come back for another video where I take an old drive-in speaker and make it look even better than it was before. Remember, there's a like, a share, and a subscribe button. Smash all of them. And if you want to find out more about one of these projects that I've been doing, I don't have a sponsorship program. I'm not sponsored by a website or a Bitcoin company or one of those meal programs. But I do put these drive-in speakers on my Etsy site, which is chuckmillercreatives.etsy.com. And there you can see all the drive-in speakers that I've worked on that have been part of these videos, as well as my photography and other restoration projects. Thank you once again for joining me, and come back for my next video.